What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Crossroads Stories. We usually hear stories about workplace drama or crazy neighbors, but this one is on a whole different level. It's about a man who thought he had found his slice of heaven in Southeast Asia, only to realize he was walking into a trap. But here's the thing. The guy who wrote this, Clarence, isn't your average retiree. He spent 40 years in high-level logistics. He knows how to track things, how to audit complex systems, and most importantly, he knows how to spot when the numbers don't add up. He said, "I'm sharing this so other men don't make the same mistake." They thought I was a senile wallet. They forgot that before I retired, my job was to catch mistakes that cost millions. I didn't get angry. I just balanced the books. This story takes place in Thailand. And let me tell you, the heat isn't the only thing that's stifling in this one. It involves a devoted young wife, a suspicious cousin, and a takedown so precise it should be studied in law school. Before we dive into Clarence's story, do me a huge favor. If you enjoy hearing about liars getting exposed and justice being served cold, hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. All right, let's get into it. Here is the story of the Golden Lotus deception, told by Clarence himself. I retired to Thailand for the beaches, the endless supply of pad thai, and a naive hope that my blood pressure would finally drop below the level of a steam engine boiler. I didn't move here to run a private investigation firm from my front porch. But after 40 years in logistics, you learn that habits don't retire. You can take the man out of the warehouse, but you can't take the inventory management out of the man. It was 1:17 a.m. in Hua Hin. The humidity was thick enough to chew on, sticking to my shirt like a second skin. I was sitting in the dark on my veranda, nursing a glass of warm water, watching the gecko on the ceiling stalk a moth. In a way, I related to that gecko. I was just waiting for the right moment to snap my jaws. My wife, Chaem, was supposed to be returning from a merit-making trip to a famous temple in Chiang Mai. For those of you who don't know Thai geography, Chiang Mai is way up north. It's a trek. She told me she needed to go pray for our health and for the success of the boutique resort I was funding for her family. A noble cause, right? She took my Toyota Fortuner SUV because she said the bus was too dirty and she needed to transport offerings. The problem wasn't the trip. The problem was the math. I'm 62. Chaem is 29. I'm not delusional. I know what the optics look like. I'm the Farong, the foreigner with a wallet, and she's the local beauty who takes care of me. I accepted the transaction. I provide stability. She provides companionship and keeps the house running. But in logistics, we have a saying, trust the manifest but verify the cargo. I heard the rumble of the diesel engine before I saw the headlights. The Fortuner pulled into the driveway, gravel crunching under the tires. I didn't move from my chair. I just watched. Chaem stepped out. She looked stunning. I'll give her that. Even after a supposed 12-hour drive from the north, her hair was perfect, her silk dress was unwrinkled, and she didn't look like someone who had been kneeling on a temple floor for 3 days. She looked like someone who had been lounging by a pool. She spotted me on the porch and froze for a split second, a micro-expression of annoyance, before plastering on that famous Thai smile that covers everything from happiness to homicidal rage. "Oh, Clarence," she chirped, her English limited but functional. "Why you no sleep? Is very late." "Worried," I said, my voice dry. "Long drive from Chiang Mai." She walked up the steps, kicking off her sandals. As she leaned in to give me a dutiful peck on the cheek, the smell hit me. It wasn't incense. It wasn't the smell of temple flowers or old candle wax. It was sandalwood. Heavy, musky, expensive men's cologne. Specifically, Tom Ford. I knew the scent because I used to wear it in the 90s before I decided spending $200 to smell like a piece of wood was ridiculous. "Traffic very bad," she sighed, making a show of rubbing her neck. "Monks pray very long time. I very tired, darling. Need shower." "Go ahead," I said. "I'll lock up the car." "No," she snapped too quickly, then softened her voice. Never mind. I'll lock already. You rest. Old man needs sleep." She patted my cheek a little too hard, condescendingly, like I was a golden retriever that had learned a new trick and breezed into the house. I waited 5 minutes until I heard the shower running. Then I walked down the driveway to the SUV. I'm a creature of data. Before she left, I had noted the odometer reading, 45,203 kilometers. I also keep a log of fuel consumption. It's a habit from running fleets of trucks. You spot theft by watching the miles per gallon. I opened the driver's side door. The interior didn't smell like a road trip. No fast food wrappers, no empty water bottles. It was pristine. I checked the odometer, 45,803 kilometers. I pulled out my phone and opened the calculator. Hua to Chiang Mai is roughly 800 kilometers one way. A round trip is 1,600. She had added exactly 600 kilometers to the clock. 600 kilometers. That's not Chiang Mai. That is the exact round-trip distance from Hua Hin to Kiet, the mountain region famous for luxury vineyards and romantic hideaways. Math doesn't lie. I whispered to the steering wheel. People do. I looked at the dashboard cam. I had installed a high-end 4K camera last year after a motorbike cut me off. I reached up to check the footage, hoping to see scenic mountain roads or maybe a timestamp that contradicted her story. My finger pressed into the slot. Empty. The SD card was gone. Careless, I muttered. A smart liar leaves the card and deletes the files. A panicked liar removes the evidence entirely. I sat in the driver's seat, letting the rage simmer down into something useful. Focus. I tapped the infotainment screen. The car system was trying to auto-connect to a phone. Usually, it looked for mine or Chaem's. But today, the screen was displaying a connection failed message for a device I didn't recognize. Pairing history. I navigated the menu. There, right at the top of the recently connected list, sat a name that made my blood run cold. Kiet's iPhone 15 Pro. Kiet, her distant cousin, the young, energetic man who was managing the construction of the resort I was paying for. The guy who drove a beat-up Honda Wave scooter and constantly asked me for petty cash for cement and rebar. A guy who supposedly couldn't afford lunch was connecting a brand new $1,000 iPhone to my car stereo system. I stared at the screen, the blue glow illuminating the realization on my face. They weren't just stealing my money for a love nest. They were using my own car to drive there. The shower turned off inside the house. I quickly exited the vehicle, locked it, and walked back to the porch. When Chaem came out a few minutes later, wrapped in a towel, I was exactly where she left me. "You okay, Clarence?" she asked, drying her hair. "You look thinking face." I looked at her. I saw the calculation in her eyes, the confidence that comes from thinking you're the smartest person in the room just because you're the youngest. She thought because I couldn't speak fluent Thai, I was deaf to the world. She thought because I was old, I was blind. "I'm fine, Chaem," I said, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Just thinking about the resort. I hope Kiet is managing the budget well. I'd hate for there to be any surprises." She laughed, a dismissive, tinkling sound. "Oh, don't worry. Kiet is family. He take care of everything. You just relax. You retired now." "That's right," I said, standing up and heading for the bedroom. "I'm retired, but I still know how to read a balance sheet." "What is balance sheet?" she asked, confused. "Nothing, darling," I said, turning off the porch light, plunging us into darkness. "Just an old man's game." As I laid in bed that night, listening to her breathing deepen, I didn't sleep. I was mentally drafting a new spreadsheet. One column for assets, one column for liabilities. And Kiet and Chaem had just moved themselves into the liability column. It was time to do some auditing. The next morning, I staged my first performance. I woke up gripping my lower back, groaning loud enough to startle the soy dogs down the street. It wasn't an Oscar-winning performance, but for an audience that already viewed me as a decaying artifact, it was sufficient. "Ooey, Clarence, what happened?" Chaem rushed in, her face a mask of panicked annoyance. She wasn't worried about my spine. She was worried I'd cancel her plans. "The back again, Chaem," I grimaced, leaning heavily on the doorframe. "Must have slept wrong waiting up for you. I can't move. I think I need to lay flat for 2 days." She tried to hide her relief, but I saw her shoulders drop. "Oh, poor Papa. Okay, you stay. You sleep. Kiet and I go to resort site. We must check the cement delivery. Very important." You go. I waved a hand weakly. Kiet needs supervision. He's young. Yes, yes. Kiet very smart but need me. She kissed my forehead, the kiss of death, I call it, and was out the door in 10 minutes. I watched through the window as Kiet pulled up on his scooter. He wasn't wearing construction gear. He was wearing skinny jeans and a shirt that cost more than the scooter. They didn't drive toward the resort site. They turned left toward the highway to Bangkok. Have fun checking the cement, I muttered. The moment they were out of sight, my back healed miraculously. I showered, dressed in my old cargo shorts and a nondescript polo, and called a grab taxi. I wasn't going to follow them. Not yet. I needed to see what they were building with my money while they thought I was comatose. The Golden Lotus Resort was located about 20 minutes inland, nestled against a hillside. On paper, it was supposed to be a boutique eco-luxury retreat. Teakwood villas, organic gardens, the works. I had signed checks totaling nearly 10 million baht, about $300,000, over the last 6 months. When a taxi dropped me off, the site was silent. It was 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. There should have been hammers banging, saws buzzing, workers shouting. Instead, there was just the hum of mosquitoes and a few stray chickens pecking at the dirt. I walked past the gate. The guardhouse was empty. Security was apparently handled by a sleeping dog that didn't even lift its head as I walked by. I headed for the main supply depot, a repurposed shipping container where the inventory was supposed to be locked up. The padlock was hanging off the latch, unlocked. Strike one. I stepped inside. It was an oven. Papers were scattered everywhere, blueprints rolled up and used as coasters for iced coffee cups. But I wasn't looking for blueprints. I was looking for the wood. According to the invoices Kiet had sent me last month, we had purchased 5,000 board feet of gray to golden teak for the villa flooring. Teak is sacred here. It's hard, termite-resistant, and costs a fortune. I walked over to the stack of timber in the corner. I pulled back the plastic tarp. It wasn't teak. It wasn't even good wood. It was composite plywood with a cheap laminate veneer stamped with a wood grain pattern. My sack. No have. A voice grunted behind me. I spun around. Standing in the doorway was a Thai man, maybe 50, skin leathery from the sun, wearing a faded t-shirt and holding a wrench. I recognized him. Dang. He was the foreman I had hired initially because he had honest eyes. Kiet had fired him 2 weeks ago, claiming Dang was lazy and drinking whiskey on job. Dang, I said, stepping forward. What are you doing here? I come take my tools, Dang said, his English broken and thick. Mr. Kiet say I steal. I know steal. I come take my wrench. I know you didn't steal, Dang, I said, pointing to the wood. Tell me about this. Where is the teak? Dang spat on the ground, a look of pure disgust on his face. Teak. No teak, boss. Mr. Kiet buy this. My ad plywood. He say tell you is teak. He keep money difference. How much difference, Dang? Dang held up 3 fingers, then made a circle. Big money. Maybe 3 million baht. I felt a cold fury settle in my stomach. 3 million baht. That was nearly $90,000. Kiet hadn't just skimmed off the top. He had hollowed out the entire project. Show me the office, Dang. Help me look. Dang hesitated, then nodded. He wanted revenge just as much as I did. We went into the side office. It was a disaster zone of 7-Eleven receipts and cigarette butts. Look for paper, I commanded. Receipts. Anything with numbers. We dug for 20 minutes. Dang found it first. He handed me a crumpled piece of paper that had been smoothed out and used as a bookmark in a supplier catalog. It wasn't a construction invoice. It was a receipt for a security deposit and first month rent for a luxury condominium in the Thong Lo district of Bangkok, the Beverly Hills of Thailand. Tenant, Kiet S. Amount, 120,000 baht. Payment method, cash. The date was 3 days ago. The same day, I had transferred funds for emergency roofing materials. Roofing materials, I scoffed, holding the receipt up to the light. Looks like the roof is over his head in Bangkok. Dang looked at the receipt, then at me. He can't read English well, but he knew the look on my face. Mr. Clarence, Dang said softly. The termite eat the wood, but the cousin, he eat the money. He eat everything. I folded the receipt and put it in my wallet. Then I took a photo of the plywood stack with the geotag enabled. Not everything, Dang, I said, clapping him on the shoulder. He forgot who he was dealing with. You want her job back? Dang looked surprised. You fire Kiet? Oh, I'm going to do a lot more than fire him, I said, looking at the fake wood that represented my life savings. I'm going to dismantle him, piece by piece. But first, I need you to do something for me. Can you watch this place? If they come back, you call me. Don't let them know I was here. Dang smiled, revealing a missing tooth. It was the most genuine smile I'd seen in months. I watch, boss. I be ghost. I walked back to the main road to catch a taxi. My back didn't hurt at all anymore. In fact, I felt lighter. I had the ledger. I knew the crime. Now I just needed to catch the criminals in the act. I pulled out my phone and looked at the address on the condo receipt. Thong Lo, Bangkok. Honey, I whispered to the empty air. I think I need a second opinion on my back. Maybe in Bangkok. I sat Chaem down at the breakfast table the next morning. I had practiced my worried old man face in the mirror for 10 minutes. It's all about the eyebrows. Keep them pinched, look slightly confused, and the vultures lower their guard. Chaem, I said, putting a hand over my chest. The back pain is gone, but my heart. It's fluttering. Palpitations. She looked up from her phone, her thumb hovering over a line message she was undoubtedly typing to Kiet. Heart? You need hospital here? Bangkok Hospital Hua Hin. Very good. No. I shook my head, adding a slight tremor to my hand as I reached for my coffee. My specialist is in Singapore. Dr. Lim. He knows my history. I think I need to fly out today. Just for a checkup. Maybe 3 days. I watched her eyes. They didn't show concern. They showed calculation. She was doing the mental math of having the house and the bank accounts to herself for 72 hours. Oh, Clarence, she cooed, reaching across the table to pat my hand. Yes, health is number one. Singapore doctor's very expensive, but you have money, right? You go. I stay here, watch house. Watch resort. You're a good wife? I lied. I've already booked the flight. Taxi comes in an hour. The flight was a real booking I made on my phone to show her the confirmation screen, but I had bought the refundable flex fare. As soon as my private taxi pulled out of the driveway and turned the corner, I canceled the ticket. Change of plans, I told the driver, a regular I use named Chatri. Not Suvarnabhumi Airport. Take me to Bangkok. Succumbit Soy 55. Thong Lo. Chatri looked at me in the rearview mirror. Thong Lo. That is Party Street, boss. You go party. No, Chatri, I said, staring out at the passing palm trees. I'm going hunting. 3 hours later, we hit the concrete jungle of Bangkok. The heat here was different. It was heavy with exhaust fumes and the smell of frying pork. I checked into a budget hotel 3 blocks away from the address on the receipt I'd found. I couldn't stay at 5-star. Kiet or Chaem might see me in the lobby. I changed into a pair of faded jeans, a motorbike helmet with a tinted visor, and a dust mask. In Bangkok, half the population covers their face against the smog. It was the perfect camouflage. I rented a beat-up Honda click scooter from a street vendor who didn't ask too many questions as long as I left the cash deposit. You drive careful, Farong, he grunted. You crash, you buy. I never crash, I muttered. I rode to the condo building. It was one of those glass needles that pierced the smog, screaming new money. The monument Thong Lo. Very exclusive, very expensive, and definitely not something a construction manager on a 25,000 baht salary could afford. I parked the bike at a street-side coffee stall directly across the road. It was 4 p.m. I ordered an iced Americano and waited. At 5:15 p.m., my Toyota Fortuner rolled up to the valet stand. My grip tightened on the plastic coffee cup. Seeing another man drive your car is one thing. Seeing him toss the keys to the valet with the arrogance of an emperor is another. Kiet stepped out, wearing a linen suit that I'm pretty sure was tailored. Chaem followed, laughing at something he said. She swatted his arm playfully, too playfully. They didn't look like cousins. They looked like a power couple on a weekend getaway. They disappeared into the lobby. I knew from a receipt they were in Unit 1804, 18th floor, facing the street. I pulled out my bird-watching gear from my backpack, a Nikon P1000. For those who don't know cameras, this thing has a zoom lens that could see the craters on the moon. It's basically a telescope with a shutter button. I aimed it at the 18th floor. I scanned the balconies. 1801, 1802, 1803, 1804. The sliding glass door opened. Kiet stepped out onto the balcony, holding a glass of wine. My wine, probably. A bottle of Penfolds Grange I had been saving for Christmas was missing from the cellar. He leaned against the railing, looking down at the city. Through the viewfinder, I could see every pore on his face. I could see the sweat glistening on his neck. Then Chaem came out. She wasn't wearing the modest dress she left the house in. She was wearing a silk robe that was barely tied. She wrapped her arms around Kiet from behind, resting her chin on his shoulder. Click, click, click. The camera shutter was silent, but the images were screaming. Then Kiet raised his hand to point at something in the skyline. The sunlight caught his wrist. I zoomed into 3,000 millimeters. There it was. The gold glinted unmistakably. The blue face of the dial. My Patek Philippe Nautilus. 2 months ago, Kim had come home crying, saying the house had been broken into while I was out. She said the burglars only took my watch and her jewelry box. I had filed a police report. I had comforted her while she sobbed about how unsafe she felt. And there it was, strapped to the wrist of her cousin. "You idiot," I whispered, snapping 3 clear shots of the watch. "You greedy, arrogant idiot." But they weren't done. Kiet went back inside and returned with a blue folder. He opened on the balcony table. Chaem leaned over, tracing her finger along a document. I zoomed in on the paper. It was a standard Thai land deed, a cha note. The Garuda bird emblem at the top was red, indicating full ownership rights. They were looking at the deed to the resort land. The land I paid for, but legally had to put in the company name because foreigners can't own land. Kiet was the director of that company. I watched Kiet laugh, and kiss Chaem on the neck. He said something that made her throw her head back in delight. I couldn't hear them from 18 floors down, but I didn't need to. The body language was universal. They weren't just spending my money. They were celebrating the heist. They were toasting to the stupid, old American who paid for their penthouse views. I lowered the camera. My hands were shaking, not from age, not from fear, but from the adrenaline of the hunt. I checked the photos. Crystal clear. The affair. The stolen watch. The deed. I had enough to divorce her. I had enough to fire him. But looking at them up there, so smug, so safe in their tower of lies, I realized that wasn't enough. I didn't just want to leave. I wanted to leave a crater. I packed the camera away, finished my watered-down coffee, and started the scooter. I needed to get back to Hua Hin before they did. I had a dinner party to plan. As I pulled into traffic, my phone buzzed. A message from Chaem. "Baby, hope you arrive Singapore safe. Kiet and I working hard at resort. Very dusty. Miss you. Love you." I texted back. "Just landed. Doctor says I need to cut out stress. See you soon." I smiled under my helmet. The stress removal was scheduled for Friday night, and it was going to be surgical. I returned to Hua Hin on Friday afternoon, wearing a linen shirt and a smile that probably looked a little too wide to be natural. I told Chaem the doctors in Singapore had declared me fit as a fiddle, but prescribed immediate stress reduction. "We need to celebrate," I announced, dropping my duty-free bags on the sofa. "The resort is almost finished. I want to host a dinner tonight. A proper one." Chaem looked up from her phone, suspicious. "Tonight? Clarence, very rush. Who you invite?" "Everyone," I said, opening the fridge to grab a cold Singha beer. "Your parents, Kiet, and the Fuyai Ban." Her eyes went wide. For those who don't know, the Fuyai Ban is the village headman. In rural Thailand, he is the mayor, the sheriff, and the judge rolled into one. You don't invite him for casual beers. You invite him when you want to gain face or settle a war. "Fuyai Ban," she stammered. "Very important man. Maybe he busy. Already called his assistant." I lied smoothly. "He's coming." I told him I have a presentation about a new donation I want to make to the village temple. He seemed very interested. Greed is a powerful anesthetic. The moment I mentioned donation, Chaem's suspicion vanished, replaced by the thrill of social climbing. "Okay." I call Mama. "We buy big river prawns. Expensive whiskey. Get the blue label," I said. "Tonight, we spare no expense." By 7 p.m., My veranda looked like a scene from a travel magazine. The humidity was thick, scented with grilled seafood and lemongrass. Chaem's parents arrived first, bowing deeply, clearly uncomfortable in my house, but happy to be near the free booze. Then Kiet arrived. He strolled in like he owned the place, which he probably thought he effectively did. He was wearing a tight polo shirt and, shockingly, my Patek Philippe Nautilus on his wrist. He didn't even try to hide it. He probably assumed old man Clarence was too blind to notice, or that I believed was a 500 baht fake from the night market. "Hello, Uncle Clarence." Kiet beamed, performing a lazy Y. "Good to see you back. Resort looking very good. Very strong." "I bet it is, Kiet." I smiled, pouring him a drink. "Strong as the teakwood we bought, right?" He blinked, then laughed nervously. Yes. Strong wood." The Fuyai Ban arrived last. He was a stern man in his 60s with a military haircut. I sat him at the head of the table. We ate. We drank. Kiet spent the whole meal speaking rapid-fire Thai to the Fuyai Ban, laughing loudly, ignoring me completely. He was building his alliance, showing the big boss that he was the young tiger of the village. I just ate my prawns and waited. When the fruit was served, I stood up. "Excuse me," I said. The table quieted down. "I have a small presentation. The architectural plans for Phase 2. Kiet rolled his eyes, whispering something in Thai to Chaem that made her giggle. "Farang Ba, crazy foreigner." Probably. I connected my laptop to the portable projector I'd set up, aiming the beam at the white stucco wall of the house. "Chaem, lights please." The veranda went dark. The only light was the harsh blue square on the wall. "I know my Thai is bad," I said, looking at the Fuyai Ban. "So I made sure the pictures speak for themselves." Slide 1, a split screen. On the left, the invoice Kiet emailed me. Grade a golden teak, 3 million THB. On the right, the photo I took at the site 3 days ago. Laminate plywood, estimated value, 100,000 THB. Superimposed in big red letters. Minus 2,900,000 THB. The silence was instant. The crickets in the garden suddenly seemed very loud. The Fuyai Ban squinted at the screen, then at Kiet. "Kiet," I said, my voice pleasant. "My translator app says my sack means teak, but the wood at the site is my ad. Plywood. Did the termites eat the difference?" Kiet stood up, his chair screeching. "No. Misunderstanding. Supplier change wood. I fix later." He switched to Thai, pleading with the Fuyai Ban, waving his hands. "Next slide," I said, clicking the remote. Slide 2. The receipt for the condo in Thong Lo. Tenant. Kiet S. Cash payment, 120,000 THB. Date, Tuesday, the day of the roofing emergency. "Roofing is expensive," I noted dryly, "especially when the roof is on the 18th floor of a Bangkok luxury condo." Chaem's parents were frozen, their forks hovering halfway to their mouths. They couldn't read English well, but they recognized Kiet's photo on the condo ID card I scanned. "Clarence, stop," Chaem hissed, standing up. "You embarrass family. We talk inside." "Sit down, Chaem," I said. I didn't yell. I just used the voice I used to use when a union rep tried to bluff me on a contract. She sat. "Last slide," I said, "because a man who works this hard needs to relax." Slide 3. The 3,000mm zoom shot. Kiet on the balcony, glass in hand. Chaem in her silk robe, arms wrapped around him, kissing his neck. And in the corner of the screen, a blown-up crop of Kiet's wrist. The Patek Philippe. I walked over to the screen and pointed at the watch in the photo. Then I pointed to Kiet's actual wrist. "Fuyai," I said, looking at the village head. "My wife told me thieves broke into my house 2 months ago. She filed a police report." I pulled a copy of the police report from under the table and slid it toward him. "It seems the thief is sitting at your table." The Fuyai Ban looked at the photo. He looked at the police report. Then he looked at Kiet. In Thailand, corruption is one thing. Everyone schemes a little off the top. But stealing from your benefactor, lying to the elders, and sleeping with the wife? That is a total loss of face. That is social suicide. The Fuyai Ban didn't shout. He just stood up slowly. He looked at Kiet with eyes like cold stones. "Kiet," he said in Thai, his voice low and dangerous. I understood enough. He asked, "Is this true?" "Fuyai, no." The Farong Photoshop. He lied. Kiet shouted, backing away. He jealous. He crazy old man. The numbers are Arabic. Kiet, I said, taking a sip of my whiskey. They don't have a language barrier. 3 million minus 3 million is 0. You stole the money. You stole the watch. You stole the wife. Chaem burst into tears, loud, wailing sobs. He tricked me. Mama, he tricked me. Kiet say he invest for our future. I not know. You knew, I said, pointing at the screen where she was smiling on the balcony. You look very happy in the investment. Kiet looked at the gate. He wanted to run, but he couldn't run from the Fuyai ban. I have already sent these files to the tourist police and the local station, I said calmly. They are very interested in the condo receipt. Tax evasion is a serious crime here, isn't it? The Fuyai ban turned to me and gave a short, sharp nod. It was a nod of respect, one warlord acknowledging another. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Police, he said in English, looking at Kiet. Coming now. Kiet slumped into his chair, the color draining from his face, looking at the expensive prawns he would never get to finish. Please, I said, lifting my glass. Eat before they get here. Prison food is terrible. The police officers were polite, bordering on gentle. They didn't drag Kiet away immediately. They stood at the edge of the veranda, thumbs hooked in their belts, waiting for the Fuyai ban to give a nod. In Thailand, the social hierarchy is invisible, but it is stronger than steel bars. Kiet, realizing the handcuffs were coming, found a sudden burst of desperate, cornered rat confidence. He jumped up, knocking over his chair, and pointed a shaking finger at me. You think you win, Farong? He spat, his face twisted and ugly. You think you smart? This Thailand. Foreigner cannot own land. The land, the resort, is in my name, my company. He spun toward the Fuyai ban, switching to rapid-fire Thai, but he threw in enough English so I would understand his triumph. Fuyai, the land deed, the Chanot, has my name. This man, he just guessed. I kick him out. Now, get out my house. Chaem's parents looked at each other, confused. They knew the law. Farong can buy the house, but they cannot own the soil. They looked at me, wondering if the stupid ATM had finally malfunctioned. I didn't flinch. I just reached into the fruit bowl, picked up a rambutan, and peeled it with agonizing slowness. Kiet is right, I said to the silent table. I cannot own the land. I'm just a guest. Kiet grinned, a manic look in his eyes. See, I tell you, police, remove him. Trespasser. I popped the fruit into my mouth, chewed, and swallowed. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick document bound in blue leather. However, I said, sliding the document across the table, I don't need to own the land. I just need to own the Usufruct. Usu what? Kiet frowned. Usufruct, I repeated. It's a wonderful piece of Roman law that Thailand adopted. It gives me the right to use, manage, and profit from this property for my entire lifetime. It is registered on the back of the land deed. You never checked the back of the deed, did you, Kiet? Kiet went pale. He hadn't. He had only looked at the pretty red Garuda bird on the front. It means, I continued, that even if you own the dirt, I own the right to stand on it. I own the trees. I own the house. And I have the legal right to kick you off of it. But I am director of company. Kiet stammered, sweat dripping off his nose. Resort company is me. Ah, the company, I nodded. I brought a friend to explain that part. I gestured to the driveway. A black Mercedes had pulled up quietly behind the police trucks. Out stepped Kanwichai, my lawyer from Bangkok. He was a shark in a tailored Italian suit, carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than Kiet's entire life earnings. Wichai walked up the steps, Wyed respectfully to the Fuyai ban, and ignored Kiet completely. Kun Kiet, Wichai said, his voice like smooth gravel. You are the director, yes. But Mr. Clarence holds the preferred shares. And according to the company bylaws, Clause 14, Section B, any director found misappropriating funds is automatically removed. Wichai tapped the photos of the plywood and the condo receipt. You stole 3 million baht, Wichai said pleasantly. That triggers an immediate liquidation of assets to pay the creditor. The creditor is Mr. Clarence. Kiet looked like he was trying to do calculus while drowning. Liquidation? It means I translated, the company is dead. You owe me 3 million baht. Since you spent it on condos and my watch, the court will seize your personal assets. Your scooter, your bank accounts, and, oh yes, that iPhone 15 in your hand. Kiet looked at the phone like it was a grenade. The Fuyai ban cleared his throat. It sounded like a judge slamming a gavel. Kiet, you steal. You lie. You finish. He nodded to the police. The officers stepped forward. The click-click of the handcuffs was the loudest sound in the night. Chaem, help me. Kiet screamed as they grabbed him. Tell them, we partners. You say we take money. Chaem, who had been crying silently, suddenly looked up. The survival instinct in her eyes was terrifying. She looked at Kiet, then at me, then at the Fuyai ban. No, she screamed, scrambling away from the table. I not partner. He forced me. He say if I not help, he hurt my family. I innocent. Clarence, baby, I love you. She threw herself at my feet, grabbing my knees. Papa, please. He bad man. I victim. It was a good performance. Her mother started crying, reaching out to comfort her victim daughter. Even the Fuyai ban looked slightly wavering. Thai women are often seen as followers. Maybe she was manipulated? I looked down at her. He forced you, Chaem? Yes. Yes, she sobbed, mascara running down her cheeks. He made me go to Bangkok. He made me wear robe. I hate him. And did he make you say this? I pulled my phone out. I left my phone recording in the car 3 weeks ago when I went into 7-Eleven. You two were alone in the AC. You thought I couldn't understand Thai. I hit play. The audio was crisp. It was in Thai, fast and colloquial, but the Fuyai ban understood every syllable. Chaem's voice, recording Ai Quay Farong, Mun Ngiomak. The Buffalo foreigner, he is so stupid. Kiet's voice, recording Jiayen. Wait until house finish. Calm down. Chaem's voice, recording I hate touching him. Skin like dry paper. I was on the ATM to spit money until he die. Then we sell everything. I stopped the recording. The silence on the veranda was absolute. Even the cicadas seemed to stop chirping out of respect for the brutality of the moment. Dry paper, I repeated softly. Chaem let go of my knees. She didn't look up. She knew. There is no coming back from that. In Thailand, calling someone a quay, buffalo, is the ultimate insult. It means you are a beast of burden, stupid, subhuman, existed only to be used. Her father stood up. He was a small man, weathered by the sun. He walked over to his daughter. I thought he was going to hug her. Instead, he looked at me, wide deeply with genuine shame, and then turned his back on her. He walked out of the gate without a word. Her mother followed, head bowed. They left her there. The police hauled Kiet toward the truck. He was weeping now. All his arrogance dissolved into a puddle of fear. Chaem sat on the stone floor, alone. No husband, no lover, no family, no money. I looked at Conwichai. Is the paperwork done? Yes, Con Clarence. Wichai smiled, closing his briefcase. The police have the evidence. The courts will handle the liquidation. You are clear. Good, I said. I stood up and stretched, my back feeling surprisingly great. I'm going to bed. Chaem. She looked up, a tiny spark of hope in her eyes. Yes, Clarence. You can sleep in the maid's quarters tonight, I said coldly. But the locksmith arrives at 8 a.m. Take the Gucci bag. You earned it. I walked into the house and locked the sliding glass door behind me. I watched her through the glass, a ghost in her own paradise, reflecting in the lights of the pool I paid for. The guillotine hadn't taken off their heads. It had just taken their future. And honestly, I slept like a baby. The sun rose over Hua Hin the next morning with that blinding, aggressive brightness you only get in the tropics. It lit up the pool, the teak deck, the real teak deck I had installed, not Kiet's plywood and the manicured gardens. It was paradise. But the thing about paradise is that once you see the snake, you can never look at the garden the same way again. I was up at 6 a.m. I didn't make coffee. I didn't do yoga. I packed. My life fits into 2 suitcases. That's the beauty of a logistics background. You learn to travel light and cut the dead weight. The house, the furniture, the car, it was all just inventory now. And inventory can be managed remotely. At 7:30 a.m., a pickup truck rattled up the driveway. It wasn't the police. It was Dang, the honest foreman. He hopped out, wearing a fresh shirt, looking like a man who had just won the lottery. "Morning, boss," Dang chirped, his smile revealing that missing tooth. "I bring new padlock. Big one." "Good man, Dang," I said, handing him a set of keys. "You know the deal. You live in the guest villa. You watch the property. If Kiet or his family comes near the gate." Dang made a slashing motion across his throat, then laughed. "I call police, boss." "Don't worry. I be, how you say, guard dog. Property manager." "Dang," I corrected. "I'm paying you a salary now. Keep the pool clean. Kunwichai, the lawyer, will send you the money every month." Dang whined deeply, treating me like a king. It's amazing what happens when you treat people with respect instead of stealing their wages. I walked down the driveway toward the gate where Chatri, my taxi driver, was waiting to take me to the airport. But there was one last obstacle to clear. Chaem was sitting on her suitcase by the gate pillar. She looked different. The glamour was gone. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She wore no makeup, and her eyes were puffy and red. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, clutching the Gucci bag I had told her to keep. It looked ridiculous now, a $3,000 bag in the hands of a woman who didn't know where she was sleeping that night. When she saw me, she stood up. She didn't run to me. She didn't scream. She just looked tired, defeated. "Clarence," she said, her voice raspy. "You go now." "I go now," I said, stopping a few feet away. "Where you go?" she asked. "America." "No," I said. "I'm done with America. And I'm done with Thailand. Maybe Vietnam. I hear the coffee is good and the people are direct." She looked at her feet. "Kiet, he in jail. Police say no bail. He have no money." "That sounds like a Kiet problem," I said coldly. "And me?" she whispered, looking up. "Clarence, I have nothing. Papa say I not daughter anymore. Village people laugh at me. They call me Mia Noi, mistress of thief." "You have your health, Chaem," I said, adjusting my sunglasses. "And you have that bag." She looked at the Gucci bag, then threw it on the ground. "Bag cannot eat. Clarence, please. Give me something. Severance? Small money? For start new life." I looked at her. I thought about the 3 years. I thought about the fake smiles, the temple trips, the sandalwood cologne, and the dry paper comment. "I do have something for you," I said. Her eyes lit up. The greed never truly dies. It just hibernates. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small, heavy object wrapped in a cloth. I held it out. She took it, unwrapping it quickly, expecting a stack of cash or maybe a diamond ring. It was the Patek Philippe Nautilus. She stared at it, confused. "Watch. Why you give me watch?" "The police recovered it from Kiet's wrist last night," I said. "They gave it back to me as evidence, but I told them I didn't want it. It's scratched. It's tainted." She held the watch like it was a holy relic. She knew what it was worth. Even pawned without papers, it was worth enough to live on for a year. "You give me," she asked, tears welling up again. "Because you still love me?" I laughed. It was a dry, rusty sound. "No, Chaem. I give it to you because it's a test." "Test? Sell it," I said, leaning in close. "Buy food. Buy a small room. Start over. But remember this. That watch is worth more than Kiet ever gave you. It represents the time you wasted trying to trick a man who audits numbers for a living." I signaled to Chatri to pop the trunk. "Goodbye, Chaem. Don't pawn it all at once." I got into the taxi. As we pulled away, I watched her in the rearview mirror. She was standing in the dust, clutching the watch, watching the stupid ATM drive away for the last time. Chatri looked at me in the mirror. "Boss, you okay?" "You sat." I looked out the window at the passing palm trees, the temples, the chaos of the Thai roads. I felt lighter than I had in 20 years. "No, Chatri," I said, opening a travel brochure for Danang on my phone. "I'm not sad. The manifest is closed. The losses are written off. It's time for a new shipment. I lived 60 years before I met her. Those are good years. I figure I had about 20 more left. And I wasn't going to spend a single second of them checking the odometer on a Toyota Fortuner." The plane took off 2 hours later. As Thailand disappeared beneath the clouds, I ordered a gin and tonic, reclined the seat, and finally, closed my eyes. What do you guys think? Was Clarence too harsh, leaving her with nothing but a scratched watch? Or did they get exactly what they deserved for calling him a buffalo? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of revenge and justice, please smash that like button. It really helps the algorithm find more stories like this. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next update. Thanks for watching, and remember, if the math doesn't add up, check the receipts. Stay safe out there.